what happens when you cross Conan the Barbarian with the Chaos Dwarf? It's a pretty good question, but the question is, what happens? And what do you get? You get Irsu the Conqueror, the Ravager. The Canaanite warrior doesn't care for anything else other than being the biggest fish in the lake of the ocean. That's what Irsu the Conqueror is. And right now, Total War Pharaoh, I think, is going in a very good direction. There is a lot of positives to go on. There is a few negatives as well. That, of course, that always can be sorted out. But from what I've seen so far of this Irsu gameplay, I'm really liking the personalities that has been added on to these new characters and these new cultures. I do wish that the Egyptian characters, let's say the 4 characters that we have to play with, have more unique personality traits like Irsu has. And I have a feeling that Irsu actor, whoever voiced Irsu, did the same voice acting for Attila. I am 100% sure of it, but I could be entirely wrong. So let's go down into this gameplay breakdown of what we are seeing here right now. I would say, of course, if I wanted to point out something, is that the battles do seem a bit quick. I have seen that some battles last for maybe 5 to 6 minutes, and of course this is an alpha build, from what I assume. We are seeing not the final product. And another thing that I would also point out is that we need more cultural UI. So all the UI, let's say, take Warhammer for example. Every other faction, of course, has unique different user interface. But what we need with Irsu is a more different UI style. And this campaign, this gameplay video that I've seen so far, it proves that Mesopotamia is on the rise. It's on the demand. It's on the demand for the fact that, hey, if I can play as the Canaanites, then I can pretty much play as anybody as I want. I could play the Mesopotamians. I could play the Milesians. There is no end to a shortage of cultures that could be added for the Bronze Age in this game. Now, while this campaign map does extend, let's say, straight to West Anatolia, all the way down to Egypt, it's quite an in-depth look at the Bronze Age itself. However, what we need is a full-scale Bronze Age experience. Am I going to be happy with what Pharaoh has right now? Absolutely, I'm going to be happy with it. But do I need Mesopotamia? Yes. And there are fans that want it. Mesopotamia is something that needs to be added in because its influence on ancient Egypt, its influence on the Hittite Empire, its influence around the world in the Bronze Age was significant in terms of trade, technology, art, architecture, you can name it. So that is the main central point. But that's not the point of this video though. The point of the video is to break down what Irsu can do at this point in the future. Irsu, I think, is an absolutely excellent character. I think he's going to be a very enjoyable character to play in Total War Pharaoh. And I want more characters like Irsu in this, because this is the collapse of the Bronze Age. I'm sure they can bring in more lords, more characters that are able to evoke this type of, let's say, dread. Not dread, but every man for himself. Because I'm really liking where CA Sophia is going with this idea that, there are warlords that are out there for themselves. Because nobody ever stays true to a dynasty at the end of the day. If your civilization is collapsing, is it not true that your lord or anybody could betray you? Right? This is basically, think of it a bit like Shogun 2 in a sense, where the Ashikaga shogunate has lost all power and the overlords no longer obey. So in the same way you can see this, and I really do like the fact that they showed it in the cinematic where Irsu can literally become the Pharaoh of Egypt. Did he really have interest in becoming that person? Was he a warrior, a character that really wanted to become that person? Because we don't know the records. But when I was watching one of the CA developer interviews, they were saying, that many of the characters that they have had a look at, they've taken historical liberties. And I, for one, think that this could work in favor of Total War Pharaoh. Why is that? Because we don't know much about the characters during this time period, but what we do know is that many of them looked out for themselves, many of them tried to have their own dynasties, many of them vied for power. The Bronze Age is all about power, it's about massive architecture, it's about dynastic struggles, it's about the fact that this is basically an era where weapons start to evolve. The evolution of swords and weapons and chariots. This is basically the transition from, let's say, chariots all the way back down to the Iron Age, where you have cavalry, the advent of steel, etc. That's what we're having here. But what are we having here? What is Ursu? Is Ursu another Attila? It could be, but Ursu is out for himself. He is the old crocodile. And for a humble fact, that the Egyptians worshipped crocodiles. Even the main god was Sobek, for crying out loud. And that's what we have. At the same time, as you see, the gameplay is progressing as how Ursu raids from city to city and his generals go around and having fun and kicking off the sea peoples whenever they try to invade, which is good. But here is something where I have to question. It's showing that the sea peoples are invading, but I'm not getting that sense of doom. That sense of doom that when the sea peoples come in, it's really doom for everybody. It's like when I play Warhammer and I play the Empire, or I play Techless, right? And you have this insane stack doom of chaos armies that are coming towards you. Or if you play the, let's say, one of the Crusading factions in Medieval 2, you have the Mongol invasion. And you can't beat the Mongols. The Mongols are really, really that powerful. So what do I think of Ursu right now? I'm thinking Ursu is looking good. I still think they could change some of his characteristics. They could maybe make him a bit more smarter. He may be a swarthy old crocodile, but he does have some cunning. He's not that, brutal. But of course, I can see where they're going with him in that direction. On the other hand, I do think they could change the look of his armor a little bit. I do feel it's a bit more Celtic, a bit more Thracian. That's what I'm getting the vibe of. It feels more of the Balkans. When I say Balkans, it feels a bit more Greek, more Mycenaean rather than Canaanite. There has to be some more distinction between Canaanite armor and, let's say, Mycenaean armor. That's what I'm getting here at this moment. I think Ursu's doing a really fantastic playthrough. There is possibilities of expanding, attacking, and raiding. And Ursu can become whatever he wants, but I'm wondering, what is the end goal of the game? The end goal of the game is to survive. Where will that lead Ursu to? Can Ursu begin his empire? Can he not begin his empire? And where will he start from? And I have to say this, the soundtrack for this game, dear Lord, I have to say, the soundtrack is absolutely excellent. I am loving the cultural differences between the soundtrack that is already released. And I really want the soundtrack. I have to say to CA, I know the soundtrack has been sold as part of the Dynasty edition, but if you guys just uploaded it onto YouTube, if you guys just basically made this as a, make it as a YouTube video, but just release it for free. I know, of course, I can't say that, but I know that all I'm saying is that upload it to YouTube and plenty of people will buy the soundtrack separately, myself included. Because whoever is composing the music for this, they have done an excellent job. It's like the Mummy, the Scorpion King, and Gods of Egypt all combined together. That's how brilliant the soundtrack is. The campaign soundtrack, the music soundtrack, it makes me want more. That's what I want from it. Please, CA, release the soundtrack. I've been listening to the Total War live streams whenever there is a live stream of Total War Pharaoh, and I'm really liking soundtrack. Please, for the love of all the people that love Total War Pharaoh and for this, release the soundtrack. Now moving on, the other disappointing factor is that there needs to be cultural user interface. I want something different for the Canaanites. I don't want it to be uniform across the whole game. I know the game is centered in Egypt. I know what the developers are trying to do, that it's a Total War Pharaoh game, so you're gonna have the Egyptians as the main frame, because when you play Rome 2, for example, the UI is kind of the same. You're literally playing a Roman interface for every single faction that is out there right now in the Grand Campaign. And this is where this uniform is. This is where the uniform user interface sort of has to change. We need more cultural UI. We need more UI distinguishing Canaanites, Hittites, and Egyptians. The Egyptian UI, absolutely great. You got that. Captured. Brilliant. That's how it should be. When it comes to the Canaanites, or when it comes to the Hittites, I definitely think there needs to be more unique user interface changes. That's what we need the most. And as for the battles, I am liking the battles. I do think that the battles are more sped up. I do think that we do need a bit more in-depth look at the battles and the sieges. And I do want more changes to the battle user interface, because right now I think it would be better if it had the Attila style, where you just have simple cross-references saying that this is sword, this is spear, and that's how you're going to play it. There was something that I also saw, that the battles do seem fast. And I do hope that when you fight, let's say, a land battle or a siege battle or a town battle, that there are various differences between the length that is played. And I want to see a difference. I want to see if it's elite troops or if it's higher troops, then they have to take a long time fighting. And I have a feeling that the archers in this game, the missiles are really accurate. And I want that a bit toned down. I want it to be a bit toned down, to add a bit more realism into the battles. I am liking the fire mechanics. I'm liking the fact that you can besiege cities and that you can add in more detail. That's what we want here. If you mind me, he's like a cross between a dwarf from the Lord of the Rings and, let's say, from Conan and Exile. So maybe there could be some changes here and there. But, at this point, this is just a purely personal preference. Everything I'm saying is just my opinion. And I'm liking the campaign gameplay. I'm liking the fact that Irsu can go around and have fun and do whatever he wants. And I have to say, props to the guys who edit the videos for CA, because they do a really good job of making Irsu look really attractive to play as a character, as someone that you want to expand your empire with. And I really like Chancellor Bay. In fact, I think Total War Pharaoh's strength lies in not with the characters, let's say, in the main factions. They lie in with the outsiders. The outsiders of this game have more personality, because you can do whatever you want. You're not free, you don't have control. As in, they don't control you. You can control them. You pretend to be loyal to them while you take power. And that's exactly what Chancellor Bay was doing. And I learned this from Cody Bonds' Noob Guide to Chancellor Bay. And this is where Total War Pharaoh, as I'm saying, needs to do. It needs to go with the outsiders. The outsider characters, I think, really add a lot of depth. But for how long can you add so many outsider characters that can do their own thing before you want... Let's add more characters. Let's add characters that want to restore the family's prestige or the family's honor or something like that. Perhaps we could do something like that. I think Total War Pharaoh could definitely benefit in these areas. And another thing that needs to be, I think, changed is the unit cards for the Canaanites. I think there needs to be a differentiation between them. There needs to be more colors, more different unique user interfaces. And I do like the fact that the Canaanites have their own gods. I think they were saying that, there was like 1,000 Canaanite gods and they only had to pick like 6. I do think they could add more Canaanite gods. I don't think that would be a big problem. The other thing was, I didn't see any Canaanite architecture. I want to see more of the cities of the Canaanites. How are they different compared to the Egyptians? And another question I have is, where are the Mycenaeans, the Greeks, and the Trojans? Where are the Achaeans? I really want to see where we can get this going. Because I'm just thinking now, imagine if you had a map with Troy, and let's say Egypt, and let's say Mesopotamia. All of the 3 games combined together, or maybe all of the 2 games combined together with expansion pack to Mesopotamia. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I really do think that we could do something with that. Honestly. Irsu is giving me the hope and the feeling that you can play Mesopotamia. It really is. It's giving me the hope that we are really doing some awesome stuff here. And if the soundtrack is good, I think the soundtrack will be a fantastic element of the game. And I also do hope that we see more battle mechanics, and I want to see sieges. I want to see sieges. I want to see siege gameplay. I want to see sieges on extreme unit size creative assembly. I want to see in the live stream. I want to see sieges and battles and whatever. I want to see more of it. I want to see more. There is so much more perhaps of this game that maybe I'm not scratching. And I want to see more Canaanite politics. I want to see how Irsu becomes the Canaanite king or whatever it is. I want to see more. Is it the Hittite king or the Canaanite king? I'm not sure. And I'm really loving the mud mechanics. The dynamic weather is really going to help this game a lot. I think it's a fantastic decision that they've done here. All in all, I'm feeling really positive about Irsu. I'm feeling really positive about the fact that this adds more potential expansion. I'm also liking the fact that we have more cultures, but what needs changing user interface for the Canaanites, for the Hittites, and we also need Mesopotamia. And also CA, please release the soundtrack because it's so good. Honestly, the composers have done a brilliant job of composing what is an excellent soundtrack, and I must commend them on that. If it's anything, I think the soundtracks sometimes are a bit underappreciated, and Total War Pharaoh is looking to be a solid game. But of course, until I get my hands on the game, I can't really say. But I'm liking it, I'm really liking it, and I think it's looking absolutely terrific. So that's my breakdown, of course, of the Irsu video. Now, of course, I didn't go into whole depth and in detail, because that'll be too much. But what I will say is this: I think it's looking great. I want to see more characters, and I think the Canaanites could have more characters. The Canaanites or the Hittites, or add more characters, give us more. I want more in this game. I want more characters. I want more factions, and I want Mesopotamia. So that's my breakdown for now. As there will be more Total War Pharaoh content coming along, I'll be making more content, as you can see already. So don't forget to leave a like, share, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.